Hey guys, welcome back to Maverick Watch Reviews. Today we have the Orient Nami 200 meter automatic, model number FAC09004D0. And as usual, we'll open it up, look at the fit and finish, the features and the functions, the build quality, and then I'll give you my overall impressions of this pretty nice diver from Orient. But first, I'd also like to invite you to become a patron of mine on Patreon. This will allow me to bring you a new watch review at least a couple times a week. Make sure you check out my Patreon link in the description field when you get a chance. My only commitment level is $3 a month, but you can always give more or less, 3, 5, 10, 20, whatever you can spare. So here you go. Now, this is an interesting watch for one main reason, and I'll explain that here in just a second. Here you go, typical Orient watch box. I can open this thing up here. Here we go. And you've seen the inner box a million times. I haven't reviewed an Orient in a while. I'm not quite sure why, but I figured it was time to see what Orient is up to. So there you go. What do we have here? We have the international guarantee written in multiple different languages, and you have the user's manual also written in multiple different languages. There you go. So there is that stuff out of the way. There you go. Now, if this looks familiar, it's for a reason. It does look familiar, and I'll tell you why here. Again, I know this is a bit of a teaser. I'll tell you why here in just a minute. When I saw this watch, I was like, no way. They didn't do what I think they just did, but they did. So here we go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get the basic specs for you. Again, always refer to the manufacturer's websites for the official specs. Let's go ahead and get some basic specs out of the way. Let's look at the case. I'm not gonna include the crown. Yeah, it's a stunning looking watch, by the way. I love that blue sunburst dial, by the way. Anyway, all right, here we go. So you're looking at 43 millimeters for the case. That's not including the crown. Let's do a thickness. Thickness, looking at 13 millimeters. Let's do a lug to lug. Lug to lug, ooh, 51. Anyway, that's pretty big. All right, let's look at the rubber strap. Now the rubber strap is gonna taper. So let's start up here at top. You're looking at 22, almost 23 millimeters. Let's go down to the bottom. And you're looking at 20 millimeters. So 23 to 22 millimeters. Really nice rubber strap, by the way. And over on the left-hand side of the screen, let's go ahead and put all of the other specs of the watch. All right, you're looking at 200 meters water resistant, which of course is 660 feet. It has an in-house Orient caliber F6724 movement, which provides 40 hours of power reserve. It does have a mineral crystal. It's windable and hackable. It has a date function over there at 3 o'clock and has a screw down crown as well over at 3 o'clock and a 120 click unidirectional bezel. So those, I mean, these dive watches, this particular dive watch anyway, it's not very complex. You know, it's not a real expensive or complicated movement. It doesn't have a whole bunch of other functions to it. It's pretty simple. And I think they really designed it that way. Now, if you notice, this looks a lot like, and let me show you this. This looks a lot like the new SLA017. I'll put that up on the left-hand side of the screen. That's the reboot of the real famous Seiko's first diver, the 62 Moss from the 60s. And this is almost a dead ringer for that watch. Now that watch is made by Seiko and it is incredibly expensive. I'll put the link to that in the description field as well. This is easily, a 20th of what that watch cost. So anyway, that's why it looks so familiar, because this is basically Orient's version of that 62 Moss reboot from the 60s. Again, Orient's also owned by Seiko, so you can see the connection there. So again, a lot less expensive than that SLA017 that I just showed you. Another interesting piece of information, Nami means wave in Japanese, okay? You've heard of a tsunami, right? The Su part, that means harbor, and Nami means wave, hence the word tsunami or harbor wave. There you go. So anyway, a little bit of information for you. I don't know if it's usable or not, but a little bit of trivia for you. So let's go ahead and talk about this thing. I love it. I love the sunburst dial. I love the look of the hands, of the indexes. Everything is applied. Even the logo is applied. Actually, the word Orient looks like it's screen printed, but the Orient logo is applied. Generous amounts of lumen. I'll show you that here in a little bit. Just a fantastic looking watch. This is what Orient was trying to do, was kind of do their interpretation of that new Seiko reboot of the 62 MOS, the SLA017. They've done a fantastic job and literally a 20th of the cost of that reboot. It's crazy expensive. And I'll put that link in the description field for you. It looks kind of big, and it feels a little bit big than it actually is. That's just a huge dial. That's a really, really big dial. They could probably, for my personal taste, they probably could have, scaled this down just a tad, because it looks big and it does kind of wear a little big. Not like, a 50 millimeter Invicta or something like that, or a Nixon watch, but it's a big watch and it has a lot of wrist presence. And I'll show you a wrist shot here in just a minute. I do like the weight. It feels incredibly well built. You do have a lot of polished areas, mainly on the lugs there, right there on the sides of the bezel. Where else? On these lugs over here, you have a signed screw-down crown that's also polished. And then you have some brushed areas. These are almost polished. They're so highly brushed, they're almost polished. Fantastic looking watch. I love it. I love the way it looks. Bezel, incredibly tight. Bless. This bezel is so tight, it's verging on ridiculous. Okay, this is, I know I've probably said this a million times, but this is actually literally the tightest, oh my God, the tightest, Jiminy Christmas, the tightest bezel, there we go, the tightest bezel I have ever reviewed on Maverick Watch Reviews. Wow, that's crazy, man. And I'm a big, strong guy. Here we go. All right, see if I can line this up. There you go. Cool thing is it does line up perfectly with everything else, with the chapters. With the indexes. Lines up perfectly. I like it. It's probably a aluminum insert right there. It's not ceramic, unfortunately. Though it kind of looks ceramic. You can see that shine, but it's probably got some sort of overlay on top of the bezel, though it does look ceramic, which is kind of cool. What else? Sunburst dial. You got your date window over here at 3 o'clock. I like a date window that has an outline. A lot of Seiko divers, for some reason, don't have an outline or a border. I like there to be some sort of border around the date window, not just a cutout in the dial itself. I like that. The date window is nice and flush with the surface. It's really high up, so the date is really easy to read. Minimal writing on the dial. You see Orient, you see water resist and 200 meters, and then down here you see Japanese movement. These I'm assuming are probably Japanese movement, and they're cased in China. That's a guess. You might want to confirm it with Orient, but I think that's the case with this. If it was made in Japan, it would say made in Japan, but it doesn't say made in Japan back here on the case back. So anyway, what else? Crown. Crown could be a little grippier for my personal taste. I wish it had a little bit more of the knurling that some Seiko crowns do, but it's plenty grippable. It could be easier to grip if they would change the knurling pattern on the crown. Again, personal taste, not a deal killer by any means. This is such a good looking watch that I'm willing to forego a couple of these little imperfections in my personal opinion. So there you go. All right, let's take a look at the case back. Nice rubber strap. Really quality rubber. I kind of judge all rubber and silicone straps based on Citizen Pro Master models. This is really good quality. It feels great. It's nice and supple. It's not hard. Citizen happens to make some great rubber straps for their watches. Seiko does too, but you have to go way up in the model line to get a nice rubber strap or silicone strap from Seiko. But this one, it feels like a Marine Master style and quality strap. Really, really nice feeling. Okay. So you're looking at the case back, there you go. Doesn't say anything about made in Japan. It's pretty simple. You do have this laser engraved middle section. It almost has a holographic type of look when you shine it in certain light. It kind of has a holographic type of look, which is kind of cool. I like that. Anyway, it says Orient in the middle. You got some information about the movement on the outside. Of course, it is a screw down case back, and it is highly, highly polished. It's got a mirror polish on it. Really, really nice. This is a great looking watch, guys. Let me go ahead and try it on real quick and show you. It's a big watch. It could be a little bit smaller, like I said, in my personal opinion. But if you want that look of that new Seiko 62 MOS reissue, but don't want to spend thousands of dollars, you might want to think about this Orient Nami. Man, that's a great looking watch. Wow, I like it. Like it. Pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and get a loom shot. We'll talk a little bit more, and then we'll wrap this review up. All right, let's go ahead and kill the studio light. Now, Orient being owned by Seiko, I'm not sure if they're using LumiBright. I would think they would advertise that on their website if they were using Seiko's proprietary LumiBright on their watches, being that Orient is owned by Seiko, but they don't say it anywhere on their website. So I think this is some, some sort of other blend that they use. It's still pretty bright though. I was really impressed. There you go. I mean, if you were to, put a Seiko Monster next to this, it would be hard for you to distinguish which was LumiBright and which wasn't. This has got really, really nice lume. I'm really impressed. Great, great lume. There you go. Cool. All right. Let's turn the light back on here. Now this comes in two different colors. It comes in a IP-coated black with a carbon-like dial, and it comes in this one. This is actually called black, which is, I don't know why they call this black when it's got the blue dial. I'm not quite sure. But this actually has the blue dial, but they call this version the black, which I'm not quite sure why. But anyway, great looking watch, man. Inexpensive, not very expensive. Again, I'll put the price in the description field for you. I've always liked Orient watches. I'm not quite sure why I haven't reviewed an Orient in quite some time. So I figured this was the perfect time to do it since they just released this. And it's probably no coincidence they released this when Seiko released their reboot of the 62 Mas, because they look, I mean, identical. Let me go ahead and put another picture of that SLA017 up on the left-hand side of the screen. And you can see, obviously, the dial color is different and some of the other things, but the indexes and hands are an absolute dead ringer for that watch. So there you go. So that's really about it. I'm trying to think of anything else I might have missed. That's really about it, guys. Just a fantastic, classic-looking diver watch. Very well executed, very well made, crazy comfortable on my wrist. Only gripe, again, just a little bit big than I think it needed to be, but it's not crazy big. It's not going to look silly on your wrist or anything like that. It's just a little bit bigger than your normal diver, which, about 40 to 42 millimeters. And with the crown, this is about 46 millimeters. So it's just a tad out of my personal comfort zone, which is between 40 and 42, maybe 43, depending on the watch. Some watches are even bigger than this, but they wear and look smaller. I guess it's just an optical illusion. I'm not quite sure why. Maybe because of all those reflections on the bezel makes it look even bigger than it is. That might be what it is, actually. I'm thinking because you have the crystal, the mineral crystal, and the reflection on the bezel, it does make it look bigger. I think that's what it is. I think I just figured it out, guys. That's why the watch looks big. So anyway, that's about it, guys. If you like this video, please click on like. If you want to subscribe to my channel, please do so. I really do appreciate each and every subscriber. I try to bring you all the best watch reviews I can as often as I can. And that's about it. Again, I'll put a link in the description field for the price for this. And that's about it. Until the next review, I will see y'all later. Take care. Bye-bye.
I'm looking